You have to start with the idea that she's imprinted on the country permanently that she is a really shallow, uneducated, and uneducatable person, and that other than her weird laugh, there's no really significant part to her. Now,
hard-hitting political analysis from Newt Gingrich about VP Harris. We didn't hear any details as to why he's telling the Fox audience that she's uneducated and uneducatable, as if it's a fact.
I think this stuff with beer and contraception, this is childish. This assumes that young people are so simple-minded that they have a single point of reference. They don't think about not getting a job. They don't think about not being able to buy a house. They don't think about the price of groceries this week. You know, they're supposed to just go, oh my gosh, I get a free beer. Gee, I really like Joe Biden. That's stupid. I mean, most Americans are just much more complicated than the people in the White House. And that's a reality.
Okay.
And the fact is
maybe I'm old-fashioned. Is vote buying legal now? If you're buying beer and birth control and free college and pickleball and phone banks? I don't know. But that sounds like you're trying to bribe people to me, but I come from New York. I guess I'm very cynical. I don't live there anymore, by the way, for the record.
So this is political spin in its simplest form. Gingrich and Hannity take the most basic political campaign tactic that any politician uses and claims it's only being done by their opponents for the most nefarious reasons. Even after he set Hannity up for that comment about the event being a bribery scheme for voters, Gingrich forgot their objective and accidentally revealed that George Washington was also the woke superlib, the vote buyer that they're complaining about.
Well, look, when George Washington first ran for office, the tradition in Virginia was everybody got together for Election Day and candidates bought free liquor. Washington, who'd been a military hero, thought that he was above that and refused to buy any free liquor and came in last. At the next election, Washington bought more free liquor than any other candidate. Now, I don't know if that's bribery or just the way they campaigned, but I can tell you that this is a very deep American tradition.
It's unsurprising, though. Since Washington did something that they would normally call vile and wicked, it's humorous and smart when he does it. The point is to repeatedly talk negatively about one person's character and worth without much context or evidence behind it. And with Kamala Harris, these guys know that they can just use their biases about who she is to easily carry that out.
It's kind of hard for the vice president to have a lower approval rating than the president. Beer and birth control and free college. What a nice deal. Please vote for us. Is that going to work?
No. I mean, look, you just lumped together two or three different things here. I mean, Kamala's hopeless because she's Kamala. I mean, anybody who watches her knows that the idea of her being president makes Biden look good, which is really hard nowadays.
That's the professional political analysis for an old guy that's a lifelong politician. Kamala's hopeless because she's Kamala. A third grader could have come up with that line of attack. But this crusty guy can get paid tons of money to use empty elementary school insults as political analysis. They can lazily go to the "we hate Kamala Harris because she's Kamala Harris" line whenever they want to, because the empty, hateful groundwork has been laid about women society has been trained to see as inferior.
You really have to wonder, in fact, you know, if we would have said 3 weeks ago, Blake, if we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously.
Lazy, thoughtless people like this need to keep the same BS racist tropes going with their audience in order to avoid ever having to actually analyze these black women and their accomplishments. If they allow their audiences to see them as humans, that can outperform them in many areas. They'll be forced to be better themselves in order to compete. And that's just too much damn work. It's easier to just rest on the strength of the racist society that their ancestors built. which is also why they're hell-bent on refusing to allow our ugly history to be taught in schools.
If you took the exact same student and you took away, skin color, sexual orientation, trans, gender, status, whatever the heck that may be, if you took that away and you compared the scores of Asians and or whites relative to any of the other sort of, let's call them, checkbox, woke status symbols today of the radical left, and you put them head to head, it's shocking who is able to get into Harvard and who would be unilaterally deterred or just rejected entirely. That has gone on. And if you can check off one or preferably more of those woke boxes, you don't have to actually be a great academic student. You don't have to have all sorts of extracurriculars. You don't have to have perfect boards or grades. Imagine she was any other demographic. I believe she's gay, not that that matters. And she's obviously African-American, but if she was a straight white male, again, does anyone with a straight face, could they tell me they even think there's a snowball's chance in hell that she would be able to keep her job and the entire board of Harvard?
So Don Jr. was talking as if his father deserved any academic placement that he ever got after their family member, Mary Trump, revealed that he cheated on his college admission tests and still benefited from his wealthy and connected father and brother's university contacts on top of all of that, just so they can claim that rich white men are the standard that no one can touch. It's literal white supremacy without the tiki torches and the white hoods. So now that they've been losing ground more and more despite benefiting from this system that their fathers created and cultivated, all they've got is keeping the white supremacy lie alive.
If you're a Democratic mega donor, this is a very tough moment for you. Your candidate is going to lose. All the polls show that. Joe Biden will not be elected president if current trends continue. So you need to make a change. But there's a problem, and that problem is Joe Biden's running mate. She's half Jamaican. Therefore, she's holy. You can't criticize her, much less demote her. That's not allowed. You are stuck with Kamala Harris, and she is even more unpopular than Joe Biden.
When you got racists eating every bigoted trope out of the palm of your hand, you can even claim that her cursed Jamaican roots are also why she ever got to where she is with guilty white people. He's basically saying that Joe Biden is paying the price for going outside of his race and choosing a black woman as his vice president. They're the same beliefs from that same ugly past that we refuse to teach and reflect on, just with a couple of updated approaches to sanitize that racism.
Another lecture about the black experience from a blue-eyed Yale graduate who in fact grew up in an all-white town, the son of IBM executives. Is there anyone on this planet phonier than Cory Booker? To her credit, Kendaji Brown Jackson doesn't seem quite so fraudulent. That would be impossible. But she does, and this is the key, share a resume that is strikingly similar to Cory Booker's. Daughter of academics, graduate of Harvard College and Harvard Law School, on the board of the single wokest day school in Washington, D.C., et cetera, et cetera. You know exactly how that story turns out. Because in the end, when they tell you you're getting a black nominee, they're not talking about the son of a maid and a farm worker from Pinpoint, Georgia. In fact, we already have a Supreme Court justice like that. His name is Clarence Thomas. He is a great man, even if no one in Washington will acknowledge that. No, what they mean when they tell you you're getting a black Supreme Court justice is that you're getting yet another Democratic Party robot with the same rigid and totally predictable views as your average professional class white liberal, but who happens to be tanner than Joe Biden. So identical to everyone else in power, just a different shade.
Again, it all depends on who says it. MAGA remembers that Joe Biden stupidly claimed that black people who don't vote for him ain't black. But when Tucker Carlson says the only black people that are successful and qualified are ones that are what he considers whitewashed, it enters their brains as hard-hitting analysis. I do have to say, though, very few non-black politicians from either party really know how to connect with black voters, and they end up fighting over who knows black people's perspective better, rather than listening to the vast number of people telling them that we care about the same things that everyone else does. We just have a political class that thinks they know better than we do and spreads that lack of understanding to their own followers. This is why representation from the actual communities that are traditionally overlooked is important, because a rich white guy that grew up with everything handed to him is still different than a rich black guy that had similar experiences, only because of our society's expectations and assumptions that only one of them lived. And it's the same when it comes to poor Americans from any background, gay and trans Americans from different backgrounds as well. So despite the GOP effort to paint diversity as a negative thing, It just means if non-wealthy, traditionally disenfranchised people held influential positions, our government and society would work to address the problems that they face more effectively, rather than listening to rich, straight, white male politicians heap their disconnected beliefs about people that they know nothing about. And it applies to both parties.
Because black Americans voted, Kamala and I are President and Vice President of the United States because of you. That's not hyperbole. Because you voted, Donald Trump is defeated former president. And with your vote in 2024, we're going to make Donald Trump a loser again.